What is going on, everybody? And welcome to our March live hangout. Uh, yes, I know it's April, but we're pushing a week because we wanted to celebrate Easter with Mr. Peter Cottontail Weller. Which I'm sure he would really came. I'm now in my head. I've immediately derailed because all I can think about is Peter Weller being like, "Yeah, that's right. I'm the Easter Bunny."
That's right. Yes.
But we are
I
looking
watch
at
him in that role.
absolutely. We are going to be looking at some lesser known Peter Weller flicks, and by that I mean we're not talking about RoboCop. But as you'll see today, there are some criminally underrated, underseen Peter Weller movies, just because he was never a. I don't know what it was like. He just never really like. He had RoboCop, which was huge, and he's had some. I know he went to like TV directing and was like he was a big part of Sons of Anarchy. Was directed several of those episodes and was in the show. Same with Dexter. Um, but I feel like he just kind of disappeared from movies, even though I think he's still in stuff. But he never really had that outside of RoboCop, which is again very, very makeup heavy, very, you know, his lips were, got all the screen time for RoboCop, but he never really had that big, huge like moment. And so we wanna highlight some different avenues that Peter Weller's career went on, just because uh we enjoy him, and may
Yeah,
you can too.
yeah. There's various movies of his that hold a special place in our heart. One in particular, and he's made a bunch of interesting genre movies that I feel um, should be covered and talked about more. And a few we'll talk about have a decent cult following. A few don't. One does it for very good reason. But I really enjoy doing these episodes where we talk about some of the more obscure or lesser known movies from an actor. The big one we did before this being about Jeff Daniels, which was an episode I absolutely loved doing, and gave us a grand tour, which is it's like a super slept on time travel movie that now it's like anytime talk about time travel, it's a movie I bring up. It's like check it out.
Oh yeah, it's quickly become like a favorite. Like, uh, I'm almost angry that I didn't know about the movie till we did that episode.
Oh, no. And it's Peter Weller, and it's like we had to trim down the list because there were more Peter Weller to get have thrown on the list. We originally
Yeah.
had 6, but due to the difficulty of accessing one of them, we cut down the list to 5, and, we got 5 really diverse movies. Holy shit.
Yeah, if nothing else, not one of these movies is like the other.
No, not in the slightest, and I love that. Peter Weller has quite a screen presence. He's got a very distinctive voice. While he's not a big man, he's got that presence and that swagger and kind of an intimidating uh, presence about him. And I just always loved Peter Weller, of course, from our time watching RoboCop, which, if you're our age in the 35 to 50 range, uh, RoboCop is such a staple of our youth, whether it be the multiple movies, the TV series, the cartoon, or the awesome, awesome toys we got in the 90s. Uh, I just, I adore Peter Weller, and I have greatly enjoyed many of his movies.
So before we get into the wild and weird world of Peter Weller, welcome. If this is especially if this is your first time to the Movie Club Emporium, you picked a great night. But guess what? We've got tons of other stuff for you. We do these live streams every single month. Last month, we did our best and worst of 2025. Again, it's one of our favorite episodes that we do every year. We always save it for February because we like to give everybody else their chance to get their talking out of the way before we give you the facts. And that was a really fun episode. Uh, and if you say, but that's not enough, I need more of this in my life. Well, number one, why are you subscribed? Because you absolutely should. That's how you get this stuff easily, right at your fingertips. Help us push for those triple digits. That's what we're going for. But we do have reviews every Sunday. Uh, New reviews, older reviews, depending on how one's internet connection works on any particular day when they're trying to upload a video. Sometimes you'll get a brand new review, like you will tomorrow, or you get an old free YouTube review where Nick and I discuss our favorite cold weather movies while it's almost 90 degrees in that would have been March. And then of course every Wednesday, when allowed, Nick gives us the freshest, hottest takes, steaming right out of the theater with post theater clarity. Uh, so I mean, again, they could not be any fresher than what when we get them. So plenty of stuff to check out. A huge back catalog of reviews, live streams, a lot of cool times. Just friends hanging out, talking about movies, which is what you want. And I could not see that chat for nothing. Oh. Okay. Um. So make sure you join us as we go along. Uh. Yeah. So let's see what's going on in chat. Um.
We've got Ben, we've got Amber, we've got Logan. So we've
Logan.
got a
Yes. Logan. I was hoping you would be here because, as we've talked before, especially if you've followed the channel, I'm a huge physical media guy, much to my wife's chagrin. And you know the parameters of how big of shelves you can put in our house. But when I saw that something was coming out, I said, you know what? For Logan, I need to buy this. Because I know it's his favorite franchise, and I know he would be upset with me if I didn't purchase it. So, Logan, I wanted to make sure you were the first one to see this brand new 4K box set of Alligator 1 and 2. Because if I know Logan, Logan loves alligator movies. And so I had to get it for him. Well, for me, but in his honor. So, Alligator 1 and 2, 4Ks from Imprint. Fantastic transfers. So, anytime you want to talk about alligator movies, Logan, you know where I am, and let's do that.
and we're gonna really have to do an alligator
I
crocodile themed episode in the future. I think
I think so.
it's a requirement at this point. It's a
I think
necessity.
so. There are. I mean, it came up and he was like, "Why are you talking about something like?" Because there are. We barely scratched the surface on alligator
Oh,
movies.
there are so many, so many. Most of them are complete garbage, but I don't care. They're still entertaining and fun. There's a few I really want to watch.
It's like a good
Uh,
shark movie. Just give it to me.
oh yeah. Sometimes you just need that kind of entertainment in your life. I do want to say, post theater clarity. The most recent episode, I went to go see the yet to be widely released "Hunting for Matthew Nichols," a new mockumentary slash found footage horror movie. I got to see it at the Regal Monday Night Mystery Movie, so that's not due to be released till the 10th. So you can get my brief take on it before it's officially released. And coming up this Wednesday for all you fans of genre movies, that is not what I'm watch. I went with my wife because I'm a good husband and went to go see the latest chick flick Reminders of Him. So whatever it is I go to the movies to see, no matter what, I'm going to record a review for it. Whether it's something I was dragged to the theater to see or something I ran to the theater to see, it doesn't matter. You're going to get my take on it. Whether it's a documentary or an Angel Studios movie, please God no, or the latest greatest horror movie. So I'm going to keep those coming.
I'm not to correct you, but I believe the Angel Studio movies are Please God Yes.
Fair, fair. Still waiting for
Please.
Nefarious Part 2.
Please, please.
I'm
Um,
kidding. No one's waiting for that movie. That was awful.
uh, Funny enough to mention, uh, killer animals gone amok movies, because that's where we're gonna start. You wanna go ahead and take it away?
I will take it away with I will just come out the gate and say this is my favorite of the 5 movies. Uh, this has personal history for us, our good mutual childhood friend Shaw. I remember from a young age him telling us about this movie. He's like, "There's a movie where this dude fights a big rat in his house, and he ends up making armor and fighting it, and he told me some details about this movie, and he's like, "I think it's called Unknown Origins," and, of course, we didn't have access to the internet yet, so I had to consult some of my big, Video Hound movie guides and some of my big, you know, encyclopedias of movies and try to find it. Through enough digging, I found out it is 1983's Of Unknown Origin, starring Peter Weller, of course, and Shannon Tweed, Mrs. Gene Simmons herself. Uh, this is a animal attack, nature gone berserk, I guess you could say movie, but I feel that's really underselling it. This is kind of a ridiculous, awesome horror comedy with one very determined guy versus one extremely smart and determined large rat. Just trying to sell it like that, it doesn't sound like anything too special, but wow. Let me tell you, of Unknown Origin is an amazing movie. So you have this guy, his name is Bart, lives in New York, has this beautiful New York brownstone townhome that he is restoring. He has this beautiful wife, he has a young son, and a awesome white collar job. His wife and his son go out of town, and he has to deal with a rodent problem. A large rodent problem. Now, this isn't like a mutant rat. This is just a really big ass, mean, very intelligent rat. It's not hinted there's anything science fictiony going on or supernatural. This is just a special kind of rat, the kind that is an utter nightmare to have in your newly restored, wonderful Manhattan home. Uh, so he goes about trying to go through the conventional ways of getting rid of it, and that it keeps on he keeps on having to go to the next level and use more and different tactics to fight it while he's slowly losing his sanity and his work is starting to slip and he's becoming ever more obsessive about it, leading to he goes to a dinner with some of his work associates, and they're talking about business. Then he gives this monologue about rats and the sheer amount of damage they do and the impact they've had on human history. And he has this thousand-yard stare in his eyes while he's giving this speech, and the speech is amazing and creepy because it's all factual. Humanity's had a since before, when we were in the caves, we've been dealing with rats and them stealing our food supply. So this is a very like grounded horror movie, but holy shit, does it get funny at times. Peter Weller plays it so well as a guy just at his wits end trying to get rid of this rat that is tearing his house to pieces. It's just like nothing's working, culminating in a finale which is a sight to behold. So, what do you think of this frankly amazing movie?
Yeah, like, I had not seen it, just we'd heard about it, and you look at the poster and you're like, "Oh, is it like Peter Weller versus a werewolf movie? No. Oh, it's a giant is it like, a graveyard shift like creature? No, it's a rat." It's this movie is so criminally underrated. I this was to me, this is to compare it to our last actor deep dive, this is my arachnophobia.
Yes.
Because I hate spiders, so this was even better. The best description I saw was somebody called this "It's a ghostless haunted house," is what Peter
Yes.
Weller lives
You're
in,
right.
and then it just becomes it's a movie. It's so simple. It's just a movie about like obsession and the deterioration that comes from that obsession. Literally to the point where he's like beating on the walls with a copy of Moby Dick. Um, I love the subtle humor in this movie, and it's so good because Peter Weller is so deadpan. The scene
Yes.
where he's, like, yelling at this rat, and he's like, "Do you know who I am? I went to college. You don't even know who you're messing with, buddy." Um, and it just this whole, this whole, like, broken down guy, like, everything has to be in its place, and then by the end of this movie, this whole house he's holding the one thing in his house that's not destroyed, and he just drops it, and his family comes home, and they're like, "The luggage." He goes, "Fuck the luggage." Like, I love the deadpan of this, and it's directed so well. George P. Cosmatos, who ironically and unknowingly at the time will be on this list more than once tonight, uh, directs this thing. He ratchets the tension up so much, and again, it's just a sewer rat that got into this fancy high rise. Not even high rise, just like a brownstone. Um, that first moment where he's working on something and you see like the shadow of the rat cross the light, and so like it's huge. Like what is going to happen? And again, it's just this rat, and we do the traps and they don't work. And that scene where he builds that baseball bat covered in like metal mouse traps and nails, and the guy who's like who comes in, it's the guy who gets his head popped in scanners. It's just like, yep, and then slowly walks up the stairs. I had such a blast with this movie. I did not realize how much fun this movie is, while also being a great allegory. Um, a great has great tension. Yes, thank you, Ben. I knew it was something grande, but I couldn't remember what it was. Um, and also it's this is the one movie on this list that is a borderline one man show. It's almost a play. It's just Peter Weller. Like there are ancillary characters that come in and out, but it's just Peter Weller and this rat. And yeah, like you, I have a movie later that comes as my favorite in a subgenre that I love. But of just the first time watches, this was an absolute treasure for me for this
It's
episode.
it's amazing. And it's what I call it's as I've gotten older, it's one that resonates with me more. As a homeowner, I'm just like, man, I would lose my mind too if I couldn't get rid of this rat and it was like cutting my power and tearing into everything. It's like nothing I'm doing is working. I've had to deal with rodents, but it's just like this one's on another level. And I like that it's kind of hard to get a feel for exactly this rat's big, but it kind of hard to get a feel for exactly how big it is, at least the size of a cat, which that is a real thing that exists in New York, a city plagued by rat problems. This movie runs a tight 89 minutes. I don't think there's a wasted scene in this movie. I think it is a classic from beginning to end, and it is criminally underrated. Um,
The scene when when he gets he's in the cupboard and he starts all the food has been tampered by the rat, and he's just like screaming like a child just died. It's so
just
you
losing it.
yeah.
Um, I will tell you though, go Go watch the trailer for this on YouTube because I watched with my wife and we watched the trailer before watching the movie. The trailer really makes it look like it's something supernatural or possibly aliens, ghosts, poltergeist. You would never guess from the trailer it's a rat. Which makes it even better. And I think a lot of people, you see the artwork for this or the trailer, you don't know quite what to make of it. Um, what do you it's a classic. It's funny, it's action packed, some good jump scares, it's suspenseful, and Peter Weller knocks it out of the park. What a delightful movie and a classic among animal attack movies.
And the fun part that it's like he's at this high pressure job, and the company where the boss he works for is just like, "Hey man, are you okay? Like your mental health is important when you need attention." But he's too obsessed with killing this goddamn rat to care.
Yeah, he shows up and he talks to his boss and he's completely disheveled. And he just tells him, it's like, yeah, I've got some things. I won't be coming into work. I got some things to take care of. It's like, I'm gonna fucking get this rat, and it's golden. Uh, just it's an it's kind of one of the more straightforward movies on this list too. I can't recommend it enough. It's top tier Peter Weller and top tier 80s horror comedy as well. So, are we
this is the huh?
are we sticking with the same director next?
We no, the next one is the big one. I say the big, not the big one, but the one that has the biggest cult following out of all these movies, I believe.
Oh, well, when you say about cult classic Peter Weller movies, the people in the know will probably bring this one up. The name alone is something. It's a mouthful. And the movie itself is, I've tried to describe it to people, but trying to describe the plot is difficult at best, because it is The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. Uh, Peter Weller was swinging for the fences back in the mid 80s, because this came out the year after of Unknown Origin. And how can I possibly explain The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai? So, Peter Weller plays the titular character Buckaroo Banzai, who is a neurosurgeon, jet car pilot, scientist, rock star, has his own fan club, lover of women, general badass, a- action hero in real life, uh, a genuinely supportive friend, boyfriend, and all around swell guy. I'm probably forgetting some things. So he's a man of many talents while piloting a jet car in an attempt to go through solid matter. He draws the attention of some aliens from the eighth dimension and he runs afoul of them. So he has to contend with these aliens who are out to steal his invention and some good aliens from the same race that are there to help them. And they're all named John. Variety of hilarious last names. I'm trying to think of how to best describe
So
Buckaroo Banzai.
I have two quotes that I found in regards to Buckaroo Banzai. And the first one says, it's the coolest movie that if you try to explain, you look like a meth head lunatic.
Yeah, accurate.
And the other one says, not one to mention on the first date, or it's exactly the one that should be mentioned on the first date if you're looking for the love of your life.
I mean, the name alone grabs your attention. And let me tell you about the cast. We've got Peter Weller, John Lithgow, Ellen Barkin, Jeff Goldblum, Christopher Lloyd, Rosalind Cash, Clancy Brown, and a variety of others. Vincent Schiavelli. Going down this list, there's a lot of people who were pretty well established at this point, but went on to do a lot more afterwards. And what's even better, they are having fun in this movie, and they are wearing some outrageous costumes. If you wanted to see Jeff Goldblum dressed up as a very colorful cowboy, this is the movie for you. You have Buckaroo Banzai and his band of friends who are also in a rock band called the Hong Kong Cavaliers. Um, and you get to see them perform, and it's just like they're his support squad, and they're like the best group of friends you could ask for. Uh, what I really like is played by Lewis Smith, who I remember from the miniseries North and South, who plays Perfect Tommy, kind of the heartthrob of the group. But they're just an entertaining bunch of guys and a bunch of pals going on an incredibly wild, hard to describe adventure. But holy shit, this movie, while there's a lot going on and it's a little hard to follow at times, is an absolute blast of a movie. There's nothing else like it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. In fact, you could say I hate gatekeeping. The whole name 3 songs. I hate that. I hate it in movies too. However, if you're anywhere in the wild and somebody mentions Buckaroo Banzai or you hear that theme from like somebody's ringtone, you have found a real one. Um, there's no pretend. Nobody has that to look cool. Uh, this honestly is the greatest sci-fi franchise that never was. Um, and it's all because the producer of the movie or either the producer or the studio head, whoever hated it. Because originally I was watching a behind the scenes thing afterward, and the director was like, "Yeah, we were." The writer like, "We had 5 sequels. Like they had signed on for 5 sequels. This was going to be a franchise." But the guy hated it. The head guy in charge of the money hated it so much that he not only wasn't going to let that happen, but then did not market this thing at all. Um, Honestly, with that cast, there's the phrase "too big to fail" became very popular. In the mid 2000s. You look at this cast, you look at the star power. This movie is too big to fail, and yet somehow it was lost for a long time. Um, and it's so much fun. It's so I don't even know. Like I can't even describe the feeling that the movie carries, like the vibe the movie carries. It's just you just think of moments. There's just things that you say that don't make sense outside of the movie. But like if you know the movie, you know exactly what I mean by like Lithgow's weird Italian accent. I get the fact that Jeff Goldblum's running around dressed like Cowboy Curtis for no reason. My favorite line in the movie is when they're walking through like the basement with like all the pipes and stuff, and just randomly Goldblum goes, "What's that watermelon doing there?" Because there's a watermelon just hanging out on this pipe. Uh, Peter Weller, uh, it is weird that he's supposed to be half Japanese and they did that by dyeing his hair black. And the fact that he doesn't recognize Alan Barkin as like his dead wife's twin sister.
Yes.
Is that what it is? Clancy Brown running around this movie. Christopher Lloyd and that other guy who plays the aliens that are with um Lithgow. And also there's some really cool commentary where you have, they have the red aliens and the black aliens, and supposedly the black aliens are the villains, but the only people who are threatening the end of the world are the good guy aliens that we're supposed to be helping. Um I honestly say the best way if you want to describe Buckaroo Banzai is I have to get the name of the band. I used the song for one of our Facebook reels. There's a punk song called "Explaining Buckaroo Banzai." So I say give that a listen. But then also, again, the best one I heard was the best way to enjoy Buckaroo Banzai is just go with it. Um, of all the things that deserved like either like this should have been like a book series, like somebody should have taken it and written books. Like I say that because I'm reading. I just finished book 4 in the John Dies at the End series. Um, with the 5th one coming out this Christmas. But like the idea of like continuing the Legends of Buckaroo Banzai in either comic books or novels, or hell, give me a Buckaroo Banzai animated series.
So, I've got good news. At the end of this movie, it's take a little explaining. At the end of the movie, we're given a screen grab that says it's like Buckaroo Banzai will turn in Buckaroo Banzai against the World
Will
Crime
be.
League, which was planned to be the next movie in the
Mhm.
series.
Yeah.
Uh, we never got that. So this movie got a second life in video rental stores in the 80s. apparently that screen at the end caused many people who loved this movie to run to the video store and say, "Hey, do you have Buckaroo Banzai Against the World Crime League?" And many befuddled video store clerks having to say, "Sorry, it doesn't exist." Well, several years ago, we got Buckaroo Banzai Against the World Crime League. Somebody wrote a graphic novel of it. It was a pretty impressive artwork. So, 40 years later, we finally got some kind of follow up and got to see more Buckaroo Banzai and finally getting to see him fight against the World Crime League. Uh, I wish we had gotten more. I wish we had gotten more movies, but at least we got a little something, a little more Buckaroo Banzai, which we definitely need more of. Because
Yeah.
this movie really feels like you're dropping in the middle of a story. You feel like it's an established world, and a fascinating that one at that, with so much depth and so much potential. And it's just a shame we didn't get more out of it. It's not a mystery as to why this movie didn't quite make it. I'm sure people going to the theater in '83 didn't know quite what to make of it, but I'm glad out of all the movies on this list, this has by far the biggest cult following. Um, and Peter Weller should be proud that he gave birth to something that he really started something so creative that has managed to go on and make so many people so happy because it's a unique movie and it's a blast. My wife loved it. It's even if you can't make heads or tails of it sometimes, you can't help but love it. And it has so many great, really likable characters.
Yeah, it's a pure vibe movie, and it's one of those movies that, again, for whatever, sadly this one didn't make it, because but it's kind of like the precursor to some, movie like this. A year later, you would get something like Ghostbusters. 2 years later, you get Back to the Future. Like these weird kind of. Granted, those are more linear. You can explain those things
Yes.
movies, but something about that time of just like, fuck it, we'll make it.
Oh, and look out for a blink and you'll miss a cameo by Jonathan Banks. Mike Ehrmantraut himself
Mhm.
from Breaking Bad pops up in this movie. And that dude's been around forever doing things.
Yeah.
Um, my notes, I'm like, the outfits are amazing. I love the line he says, "No matter where you go, there you are." It's a line since I first heard it, I've said repeatedly over the years. It's like, oh, uh and let me tell you, the end credits
Yep.
where they're all lined up walking down that, like, causeway and that awesome music is playing. It's just one of my favorite, like, end credits to any movie. It's catchy, and it's so fun and getting to see all the characters kinda combining for it. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, some juvenile humor in there because Christopher Lloyd's character's name is John Big Boutte, which
Big
they love
booty.
which they love saying a lot in this movie.
Yeah, again, I can see why a lot of people wouldn't get into it. To me, it is totally like, it's one of those movies like Big Trouble in Little China, where if it if you know it from your childhood, like it makes up so much of your childhood. Uh, but it is certainly a vibe of a film, and some people don't mess with it, and I get that. But I would suggest at least try and recheck it out at least once and see how you feel about it. Now, as much as I loved Unknown Origin, again, if you have been here with us for a while, I am a sucker. I love underwater monster movies. And one of the absolute best to ever do it, in a year where three separate underwater monster movies, no, four, because I think, was it this the same year as The Abyss?
I believe so.
So in the same year as The Abyss, Lords of the Deep, Deep Star Six, we got Leviathan. Again, we're back with George P. Cosmatos. Uh, and another huge cast. Yeah, Peter Weller, Richard Crenna from the Rambo films, Meg Foster, and then it's an '80s Meg Foster. Daniel Stern, Hector Elizondo, Ernie Hudson. Um, and this is like, what if we mixed an underwater sea monster with John Carpenter's The Thing?
Yes.
Um, and it's absolutely fantastic. So there's this underwater silver, like they're mining for silver at the bottom of the ocean. And it's just like this ragtag group of drillers because we've all seen Alien. Uh, you have the lady I only know her from the Flash TV show. She was the doctor who like helped him be the Flash. Um, Peter Weller's like he's not one of the boys. He's like the guy in charge. Richard Crenna's like the doctor aboard the station with like this. They keep referring to like maybe he was like drunk during surgery or something and botched it. So that's why he's now at the bottom of the ocean. Um, and again, and then we find this sunken Russian ship, the Leviathan, and there's something aboard, and we bring it back on to our ship, our vessel, and things get gooey in a hurry. Number one, speaking of Alien, when this movie starts and that music kicks in, man, I tell you what, I can recognize a Jerry Goldsmith score anywhere. Mostly because it feels the same thing with some of the music I know he did for Alien. If you watch the Alien like behind the scenes stuff, like this music almost doesn't fit somewhat the tone, especially like the ending credit music does not fit the tone of the film.
Oh, really? No.
Um, but again, the effects are Stan Winston. There's incredible melting effects, people merging, uh Daniel Stern being like really just a walking HR case. Um like he's so grossly horny, like it's unsettling.
Yes.
Uh
Cut it out, Marv.
right? Uh Ernie Hudson just being fucking Ernie Hudson, man. Just smooth Ernie Hudson, not taking no shit off
Cool as a
nobody.
cucumber.
Uh and again, kind of Meg Foster is the face of the unknown the corporation. Uh, and she's just Meg Foster. Again, you get some great effects. It's a slow build movie. Uh, up until it realizes it's only 90 minutes long because we jump like hell. We're all of a sudden we're like racing to the end of this movie. Um, there are some great effects. The scene where uh it's Daniel Stern and the other woman are merging into each other. And you get like the weird animal face coming out of this separated. Is an arm or a leg that's crawling around? Um,
Oh, yeah. It was I think it was an arm.
was an arm? Uh, you get Hector Elizondo no selling a giant cut across the chest. uh, and then the guy who I swear is like the younger weird like off-brand clone of young Raul Julia.
Yes. Yes. I know exact yeah, I got those 2 confused when I was younger, and, you are not wrong. He's a dead raker.
Yeah,
Michael
it's
Carmine, who I know from Batteries Not Included most of all, so
yeah. Um, I will say this though, as much as I love most of the aspects of this movie, the effects are great. Their suits are these Robbie the Robot looking underwater suits are kind of goofy. Um, and then for spoilers for a movie that's almost 40 years old, uh, the fact that this giant sea monster comes out at the end and just drowns Ernie Hudson because they forgot to kill him. And the movie ends with our hero punching a woman in the face.
I forgot. That is
Yeah,
how it is.
but
Hey, she
it's
had it coming though.
yeah,
Equal
but
rights, equal rights, and equal left, says Peter Weller.
and I so my and then the ending, you know, you when you think of like the ending of movies, big one-liners, you know, Jaws, smile, you son of a bitch, things like that. Uh, Peter Weller's he like grabs the grenade, yells, I wrote it down, I had to write it down. Say hi, motherfucker. And then he pulls off an MJ 12-foot jumper shot and throws this grenade into this monster's mouth. This movie's a blast. To me, this is the quintessential like 80s underwater monster movie. This is why I love this genre. Because they can be goofy. Um, you know, you can get like legit serious ones. The one I'll never forgive being buried by Disney during the Fox merger. Underwater with Christian Stewart is highly underrated. Um, you know, this Deep Star 6, maybe not so much Lord of the Deep, although if you want to watch Lords of the Deep, watch the Mystery Science Theater version. And then of course, you know, everybody knows The Abyss.
Another
I love this genre so much.
There's another one from 1989 you missed, The Rift, also known as Endless Descent, was
Yeah,
another
I don't think I've seen it, but
1989.
that cover was like everywhere when
Yeah, that is man, same. I've not seen it, but the cover is one that just stuck with me. Talk about some killer cover art. I smell an episode of the future of underwater horror movies, and man, we'll have to give that a watch. Uh, Leviathan's awesome. Um, it's very much you look at it and it has elements like so many sci-fi horror movies of this era has elements of Alien and aliens in it, and it definitely takes a lot of inspiration from The Thing, especially in the creature and how it affects people and how it shifts and changes. Still, I don't think that takes away anything from this movie. It is does such a good job building up and establishing things, and whenever it gets rolling with the creatures, it just takes off like it has a rocket strap to it. And it's fun. Height 90 minutes. It's like the creature effects are fantastic, and of course they're practical as they should be. Uh Seeing these, you know, these corpses merge into something inhuman and seeing the different shapes these things take and like the mouth and the hand and just it terrifying bundle of teeth and claws and just out to grab you and get you. uh some great jump scares. It's what a great sci-fi horror movie should be. It's fun, the cast is fun. And of course, it's just like anything like this, you have the isolated setting far from help. The elements like how are we gonna get out of this situation? And you'll even throw in the shitty corporate person who's, looking out for the needs of the company, played by Meg Foster, the woman who gets punched in the face at the end. Uh, so you could definitely see the fingerprints of Alien and the Thing on this. And it definitely some elements very very clearly borrowed from it, but it still manages to do its own thing. It still manages to feel distinct. And to me, it's one of the best underwater horror movies. It's a classic. It's definitely high on my list. I would still place of Unknown Origin above this, but it's still a top tier Peter Weller movie. Watched this with a friend recently, and we just had a great time. I had caught it on TV when I was a kid, and it's just oh, loved it. Each time I've rewatched it, I've loved it more. Leviathan is just a killer movie.
yeah, no, I love it. And because we were talking about it doing, you know, Logan would love to see remake. If you have not, I champion. I know Kristen Stewart has, you know, carries some of that Twilight stigma with you know genre people. If you have not seen Underwater, it is a fantastic underwater monster movie that ends that goes and not so much the thing territory, but goes somewhere that when you realize what they're doing, mwah, chef's kiss for that third act reveal. Uh, I love the idea of Del Toro, but I will not stop anytime we are together on the internet to tell you that now Del Toro is done with Frankenstein. Hey, Netflix, and at the Mountains of Madness, Guillermo del Toro, give that man his money, and let's do it. Because I will
I
not
want
rest
to
till I get it.
I want to see that movie before I die. I hate that instead of At the Mountains of Madness, we got Prometheus, which isn't terrible, but I'm sorry. There's no way it's going to be as good as Del Toro's In the Mountains of Madness. Should we ever get it, you and I are both Lovecraft fans, and I'm hoping so. But in the meantime, watch Leviathan and check out Underwater. Kristen Stewart can, in fact, really act, as evidenced by, if nothing else, one of my favorite movies a couple years ago, Love Lies Bleeding.
Mhm.
But we're here talking about Peter Weller. Leviathan's awesome. If you need something to watch, it matches up so well with Alien and The Thing, while still feeling like it does its own thing.
Yeah. Now, at this point, we have given you three fantastic, fantastic Peter Weller films. However, not every candy in the jar is sweet. And I'll take full blame. I picked this movie. I read, oh, it's an episodic, so I'm like, anthology. Is it dark comedy? Ooh, uh, movie from the early '90s that I've never heard of. Let's do this movie. And it is none of those things. It is The New Age from 1994. I will try to stretch this out to any kind of actual review because this is a whole lot of nothing burger. Uh, however, again, this is another movie. Look at this. Listen to this cast: Peter Weller, Judy Davis, who will come up again later, uh, Patrick Bachow, Samuel L. Jackson, Corbin Burnson, Adam West. Um, you know, I gotta say, when you dive into somebody's career, you don't always find winners. This movie is I it's in one ear and out the other, and it's the equivalent of that. It's Peter Weller and Judy Davis are a married couple. They're a couple of yuppies. Um, and one of them loses their job. The other one is not making enough money, and so let me tell you how hard it is for rich people to do regular people jobs because that's kind of this movie. And the whole time while watching it, I was just thinking of movies that touch on some of these topics, but do it way better. Honestly, the only two things I don't say I wouldn't enjoy. Two things I like the most about this movie. There's a scene Peter Weller he's like selling like fake trips to Hawaii as a telemarketer. And the way it's filmed with Samuel L. Jackson as his boss, and he's like stumbling over the script and he can't do it, and he starts having like this. It's filmed really cool where he's like feeling himself and he's in the moment with this old lady trying to get her to buy like pins with her name on it for $150 in 1994. They were personally engraved pins. The way that's filmed, I enjoyed. And then the fact that, hey man, anytime you pop up Adam West in a movie, I'll check it out. I watched that weird like softcore Skinamax movie because Adam West is in it. It had nothing to do with the famous actress from Lady Chatterley, but it was all about Adam West in that movie. Um, I wrote down so many better movies that do these stories. Uh, One I don't know if I'd want to recommend based on the people in it and some of the subject matter. American Beauty kind of touches on some of this stuff. One I will highly recommend, going back to the telemarketing stuff, is Sorry to Bother You, which is a fantastic, weird movie that you should totally check out if you haven't. And yeah, I just isn't it so hard for rich people to do normal jobs? Uh, this was a turd, and there's a reason none of us have ever heard of it before we decided to sit down and watch it. And so, without anything else besides, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Nick.
Well, the last thing I wrote in my notes was stupid nothing of a movie. This movie is so terminally dull with a bunch of unlikable characters, which I could excuse if they were interesting. There is nobody in this movie that's really interesting or memorable or worth talking about. They're yuppies. Oh no, they don't have as much money and they have to do other things. I want to fall asleep trying to describe this movie. I can't think of another movie we've watched for this channel and reviewed that I like much less than this movie. It doesn't work on any level. There might be something, but it just bored the piss out of me, and I paid to rent this movie. Um, I never heard of it before you mentioned it. I was like, it looked promising enough, and it's definitely was a departure from some of the other things on this list. Uh, wow, it was bad. I still I that's the problem is I can't even tear it apart. There's so little to say about this movie. There's nothing there. I mean, rub my notes is like, wow, there's a reference to laser discs in this movie. Because the idea of how super interesting this movie is, and I put a lot of red in this movie. That's my notes. That's my notes for this movie. It's because there's nothing to write down and nothing to remember. This movie completely sucked. I hated it. Peter Weller, you've done some super interesting out there stuff, but I don't know who this movie was for, who it's supposed to appeal to, what they were going for, and bafflingly enough, I looked into it. There were critics at the time who actually really liked it. I don't know why. I have no idea why. I can't recommend this movie to anybody. It's terrible. It's boring. It is so boring.
I I will say the one moment that got a chuckle, and it's early enough to where I was like, maybe this is onto something. Is a scene at the very beginning where Peter Weller, Adam West plays like his dad, and he like totally like cock blocks him on buying a red like sports jacket. But then Adam West, and it's the 1980s Adam West or early 90s Adam West. But he like saunters up to this 19-year-old girl, and he's like, "Hey, how you have a boyfriend?" And she goes, "I have a fiance." He goes, "Oh, well then let me ask you a question. How are you? How loose are you with your morals or something like that?" And I was like, "Okay,
Yes.
Adam West."
Yeah, it is. And it's like that's one of those lines that should have worked, but no, it didn't work
No.
for me. Nothing worked for me. Uh,
Well, I do feel
Good.
bad that you paid for it because I totally found this on a legitimate and legal streaming site, and even then was just like, I think I may have paid too much for this.
Yes. Well, let's never speak of the new age again and move on to our final movie. And oh boy, did we save a doozy for the last one. And this is saying something, the weirdest movie on this list.
Yes, that's right. Screamers. No,
Great
no.
movie. Not what we're
With
talking about.
I know, but now that I'm after watching the new age, it's like, man, we should have done Screamers.
We really should have done Screamers instead.
No, if you're gonna talk about a Peter Weller movie that's not RoboCop, man, you better put on your big boy pants because we're talking Naked Lunch from 1991, directed by William David Cronenberg, based on the William S. Burroughs novel. Um, again, a stacked cast. Peter Weller, Julie Davis is back. Julie Davis is back as Peter Weller's character's wife, June. Ian Holm, Roy Scheider, Julian Sands, R.I.P. This, speaking of not being able to describe the plot of a movie, although I guess it may be easier. Um, it's essentially the book Naked Lunch is unfilmable. It's just a series of like drug induced ramblings that were kind of put together in a novel with a loose thread. So what David Cronenberg did was basically kind of combine the book with the life of William Burroughs. The stuff with his wife. He shortly goes to Africa. He's a exterminator, and on the job finds that he's out of the dust they kill cockroaches with. Come to find out, his wife is using this brown powder that is totally not heroin. She's addicted to it. Um, she gets him kind of addicted to it. Uh, but the scene with the whole like William Tell in a in real life, he was very drunk, and she said it's time for our William Tell act. She put a glass on her head. He tried to shoot the glass off with the pistol, and he missed and killed his wife. Um, and I guess it happened in Mexico, and under that law, he was in jail for 13 days. Um, yeah, it was the 50s, man. So he goes to um, is it Tangiers? Where he again, it's just drug and fueled insanity, and there's bug typewriters. There's a scene where they have sex with one. This typewriting bug talks out of a giant butthole on its back. There are these weird creatures called like the mug, or are they the mugworms or mugwons or whatever.
Uglands or something like
Yeah,
that.
that look like a mix between a Ninja Turtle character and a putty patrolman. Um, who secrete a highly addictive liquid out of the tubes in their head. Julian Sands turns into a giant centipede and fucks some dude to death. Roy Scheider's hiding inside of a woman, and that's before the movie gets weird. Um, it's visually insane. But again, it's a movie that completely captures the idea of this is what just like riding the brown horse is like. Much like the movie Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas kind of totally is giving you Hunter S. Thompson while also not being Hunter S. Thompson. This movie is 100% Cronenberg telling you about William Burroughs without it being William Burroughs. Uh, and it's a perfect mix of the two. Um, it's just so bizarre, and it's funny. And I know this may be sacrilegious, say, but this era of we're not doing a Cronenberg episode obviously right now, but this is my favorite like moment in Cronenberg's filmography because like you have the early body horror stuff that's his master of horror stuff, but like starting with Dead Ringers, this Crash, M Butterfly, like adapting these books that like very controversial, all named like unfilmable, turning them into movies. Uh, you know, this is probably the piece to resistance of that whole movement of his career, just because what in the world? I went back and I looked it up after I rewatched it because I watched this years ago for the first time when I was doing like my director stuff and I was watching all the Cronenberg stuff. And you watch this, and you're like, what the fuck is happening? So I went back and I watched Siskel and Ebert's review of Naked Lunch. And Siskel is just like, I don't know if I can recommend it, but it was kind of incredible. And Ebert goes, "Everybody in this movie does a fantastic job. The direction, the acting, everything is fantastic, and I hate it."
They that I went and watched the review for this recently again because I watched it
Yeah.
before. This has the review of Naked Lunch is one of my favorite reviews they have ever done, as they're trying to make heads or tails and trying to figure out how to compliment or recommend or not recommend this movie. Roger Ebert was just completely disturbed and grossed out by it, but he was also in awe of how wild it was and how far it went visually and what it was able to achieve. But he was just like, I can't recommend it, but I'm kind of impressed by it. It's the review's hilarious. I'd recommend going to watch the review. Uh, as for Naked Lunch, I agree with them. It's a very hard movie to break apart and try to dissect and recommend or not recommend. It's a Cronenberg movie. You can definitely see Cronenberg's fingerprints all over this. They said this novel, which is apparently pretty baffling, was unfilmable. This is probably about as coherent as you could make it based on some of the other William S. Burroughs stuff I've written. I mean, his first book William S. Burroughs wrote was called Junkie. He was quite open about the fact that he had done a lot of drugs and he had been a drug addict a lot. He struggled a lot with his sexuality, with being at the gay or at least bisexual at a time where that was not terribly socially acceptable in society, and dealing with the idea of being this tortured writer in and of itself and creativity. Uh, get a chance, go watch some interviews with William S. Burroughs. Man, the dude had a way with words. I think he's an impressive author, although a very confounding one. This movie's gross and weird and hard to follow and bounces around all over the place, and you don't know what's happening, when, or where it's supposed to be because it's just things happen, scenes happen, and you kind of loosely connect to other scenes. At the beginning, it seems strange, but somewhat coherent, and it continually goes off the rails. But I get it. On the one hand, I watched this movie once before. I was not down with it. I'm watching it again. I feel like I understand it a little bit more. Uh, as the movie goes on, I think we're looking at the character like deeper in the throes of drug addiction, and the movie keeps on getting weirder and more bizarre as it would with drug addiction, as kind of your perception of things would with drug addiction. And there's multiple substances in this movie that are addictive. You have this the brown bug powder, which is quite obviously heroin. Popular with the artsy crowd. I think it said Muglin. They flat out call it jism
Yeah.
at one point in this movie, which is ramping up the grossness. And this black centipede power, I think they call it meat or black meat. That's
Mhm.
ground up Amazonian centipede. It just characters come in and out, and characters that are dead kind of come back, but they're different. It's I, I'm struggling like crazy to describe this movie in any kind of way that makes any kind of sense. My notes look like the ramblings of an insane person. Um, like exterminate all rational thought. Then I put gay bug typewriter question mark. And when the fuck did he get to enter zone?
Yep.
Uh, falling hemorrhoids wrapped around the wheel and draft skin upholstery. Yes, that's me trying to come up. It's like trying to make sense of this and trying to write down things I'm hearing and seeing in a baffling movie about a writer trying to write, coming to terms with the fact that he's gay, and being super addicted to a lot of drugs. Uh, One thing I found interesting in the movie is the main character played by Peter Weller. Uh, he sees these crazy, outrageous things like giant bugs, mutant things at the bar, or his typewriter turning into a giant bug creature that talks to him. And the way he looks at him is like a little bit shocked, but he never seem most of the time he doesn't seem to react in a way that you would expect if you were actually really observing this. It's like the character is aware that he's not really perceiving this isn't really reality, but he's just kind of coping with what his brain is trying to process. Not doing a good job of explaining this. I think a lot of what this movie we're seeing, my interpretation is a drug addict's perception as they get deeper and deeper the throes of addiction, uh, and trying to cope with that. I might be wrong. I might be completely off base. There's a lot of bugs and weird sexual shit in this movie. It's weird. It's beyond weird. It's one of the weirdest movies we have watched and reviewed.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think to me, there's a scene toward the beginning, the very first time he tries the bug dust. I feel like from that moment on, everything else is just a drug hallucination. But it is just it's a guy dealing with the grief of losing, his wife, trying to escape it, and then realizing that drugs can be pretty bad. Uh, Honestly, I think I don't remember if it was last year. Um, Luca Guadagnino did a movie that is also based on a Burroughs book, but that is kind of borderline unfilmable. But he sets that movie with the same character name because the character in this movie, his name is William Lee. Um, Same name as that character. Uh, uh, in Tangiers, like in the middle of writing this book, and with Daniel Craig, that came out called Queer, and it's about like his discovery of his queerness and um and discovering his sexuality while also boozing and drugging it up in Tangiers and in northwestern Africa, um, which is a really good movie. Um, but yeah, it's just one of those things where like it's a movie that I don't want to say like if you're brave enough, but like this isn't a movie that to me it's weird that I own this movie from the Criterion Collection. Um, because it's not a movie I think that is one that I don't think it was highly influential coming out. I don't so with world cinema, but it is a movie that I feel like this, and then to probably a much darker degree, even though this movie does have a fairly dark ending. Something like Requiem for a Dream, where it's just like, hey man, drugs. Nancy Reagan was right. Just say no. um, but again, this with everything going on, it's this the way that Peter Weller plays it so calm and straight that kind of allows you to stay in the movie because if he was losing his shit like he should be with everything that's going on, I think like you as a viewer would fall out of this movie immediately. Because he's so calm and just like, all right, well, this is what we're going with. Like you through him are kind of like, all right, well, let's keep going, I guess. Um, it really is a great performance. Um, and again, a time where just man, we were just the balls to make something.
It's I gotta admire the movie for its audacity, and it fully goes for it and commits. I think Cronenberg and Peter Weller they put their vision to screen. I think they set out to accomplish something, and they did. It's not a terribly accessible movie. It's not a movie I'd recommend for most people. I will say again, kind of like a Buckaroo Banzai, there's nothing else quite like it. Uh, Visually, I mean, the creations of this movie are grotesque and unsettling. It's just disturbing to look at throughout much of this movie. And Yeah, it makes me never wanna even remotely think about touching heroin. Um, but the costumes and the performances, it's like it's a very well done movie in many ways. I just I mm, I don't even know who to recommend this to or who I'd say it's not like it's a fun watch, but it's an interesting, fascinating movie, but it is grotesque and uncomfortable and extremely confusing.
It is definitely a movie that, like, the crowd here, I would say watch it to say you watch it to say you saw it. Um, but it definitely is a movie that, like, I mean, having already seen it, you know, I could sit at home alone and watch it because I knew we were gonna discuss it. This definitely is a movie that should be watched with a couple of you, and then, like, the movie ends, you turn it off and like, "Okay, now let's discuss." It definitely is a movie that needs to be talked about after viewing, like, the group whoever you watch it with, like, there should be, like, somebody we took notes, and we gotta work our way through this as a group together. I think is the best way to I wouldn't say enjoy it, but the best way to, for lack of a better word, consume this movie.
Yes, consume is the right word. My wife has been watching a lot of the movies we watch for this channel with me. I told her flat out, "You do not want to watch Naked Lunch with me." And I was right. I don't know if I would still be sleeping in my own bed had I subjected my wife to Naked Lunch, but I will, however, say I am glad I watched it at a much later stage of my life. I watched it first time when I was a lot younger, and I was very confused, and I watched it now, and I'm still more confused. I felt like I understood it a lot more, and I can appreciate what it offered artistically, and I'm good. I never need to see this movie again.
Yeah, Tom, I don't I wouldn't say that, like, it's a movie that is it to me, it goes beyond liking or disliking. It's a movie that I mean, again, it's something that I think you should if you're into whether it's if you're into the idea of avant-garde films, if you're into things like watching movies that, you know, movies that push boundaries, definitely check it out. It's just one that's not gonna be when you think Cronenberg, like, Imma sit down and watch a bunch of David Cronenberg movies, like, I don't know if this one makes your day, but again, like, this one is in that vein of, like, my favorite Cronenberg. Uh, Dead Ringers, this he I mean, this that 4 movie set, Dead Ringers, this, Crash, and Butterfly, which of those 3, M. Butterfly at the time was the least controversial. Now in today's climate, it kind of is the most controversial. Um, but I just love the idea that Cronenberg was like unfilmable. You say, huh? Like pushes a lot of buttons. Let's do it. Um, as far as like an enjoying good time, I can't recommend it. But as somebody who enjoys watching movies that hold a special place in the world of film as a whole. Like, because again, this is a movie that should have never been made. And honestly, if this movie isn't made, I don't know that we get something like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which is also equally as weird, just maybe
Accurate.
somewhat a little more accessible because of how flamboyant Gilliam is while filming. This is not a flashy movie. It's a very um though speaking of the fly, he was like the success of the fly was he was just like, "Whoo, finally I got the clout to make naked lunch." um, it definitely is a movie that if you're into looking at movies that pushed not only film but what is acceptable in film, then I would suggest checking it out. And again, be ready to like have somebody be like, "Okay, man, we got to talk about this." Um,
And it's like It's about about an author, and it's very describe a literary movie. It's grotesque, and it's like so. I don't know if I could say I like this movie. It's an experience.
Yeah.
It really is an experience. I'm glad I have. Um, and I said most people, I'd say probably I don't want to recommend it on the basis that I don't want to steer somebody into this movie and then
Oh,
come
yeah.
back to people like, "What the hell did you have me watch?" Um, you can kind of glean from what we said if this sounds like something you might be interested in. Give it a watch. It's an hour and 50 minutes of a very unique movie. Uh, and it's like Cronenberg made a lot of movies that were kind of hard to crack. It's like Videodrome, for example, which is also weird and grotesque and sexual. I feel Videodrome is drastically easier to grasp in this movie, and a lot more accessible. And in terms of watching a movie and liking it, I like that one a lot better. But man, just the balls to adapt this novel and to do it like they did, and to just push full send and go for it. And Cronenberg is a unique talent.
Yeah.
And
When we
Peter Weller really helps hold things together. I'm not sure what other actors could have done this role and really done anything with it.
No, it wouldn't have worked. And my favorite moment of Peter Weller is not the movie. It is the if you on the Criterion Blu-ray, there's the behind the scenes conversations. And it just cuts to Peter Weller and he's dressed like Inspector Gadget holding a trumpet through the entire interview. Which is the perfect like summation of Peter Weller, man. He was just a dude who did his own thing. And still does. He's still very much alive. Let's not start that internet rumor. He is very much alive and still
Yes.
kicking. But
He's
he's just a dude that's just definitely one of those like I do what I want and you're either for the ride or you're not.
he I think he loves to act. He's truly talented on it. It's kind of a shame. I think he did the projects he really wanted to do that he saw value in. I think had he been given the right material and hey, maybe still yet, I think he could have contended for an Oscar in the right role. I think he's that talented. Um, I'm appreciative of the body of work he has though, and what we've gotten with how much diversity and how much effort and passion he put into his roles. I mean, to us, he's always be RoboCop, but as we see here, man, he's has some other roles that were just unique and interesting and amazing. And
And
it's
one to throw, I just want to throw it out because I knew as soon as we were doing P. Weller, I would have to mention it. We don't talk a lot about animated movies. They just don't come up very often. Uh, and there's no secret that we love Batman. And I love Batman especially. Peter Weller as Batman in the Dark Knight Returns animated films is the best cartoon adaptation of a Batman graphic novel. And Peter Weller playing old man Batman is just, for a while they talked about wanting to do the movie in the 80s with Clint Eastwood. Aside from that, old Peter Weller playing the voice of old Batman. Mwah.
it's perfect. I love the Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2 animated movies. It is a dead on perfect adaptation of the Frank Miller graphic novel. Um, and brilliant casting because it works. I'm thinking some of the lines now when he's fighting the leader of the mutants and he tells him it's like this is an operating table and I'm the surgeon telling
Mhm.
it to the mutant leader as he's beating the ever living shit out of him. Fantastic.
Oh, when he
Oh,
gives that speech to Superman at the end where he's like, to the everything you'll go through, but you'll know that in the darkest of nights and the coldest of whatever corners of your soul, I beat you. That speech will give you chills.
it will. If you have not seen those, watch them. They are fantastic. And it is some of the most perfect voice casting ever of one hell of a dynamite actor. And that's Peter Weller. 5 movies, 4 of which were pretty impressive, one of which I is relegated to the dustbins of history. That's okay. They can't all be bangers.
We will at some point. The movie we had to cut because we could not find a legal way of watching it. Next time you make the trip down, we'll definitely watch it because I know the perfect topic to cover it in. And will because I based on the trailer, I won't share it now because we'll save it, but I really am curious how that plays out. But again, that is Peter Weller, and that is our March live hangout. But don't worry because the fun's not stopping. In fact, like we said, every Sunday there's a new review. There's a new review tomorrow. I'm reviewing the new film, They Will Kill You. And I know what you're thinking by the trailers and it coming out merely 2 weeks after Ready or Not 2. It feels like, is this a we have Ready or Not at home? I will tell you, you're going to be very surprised by my review for They Will Kill You. And then again, Nick has what was the name of the chick flick you're watching?
The chick flick movie I went to the theater with my wife to see Reminders of Him, which I know you guys are dying to hear my take on. Don't worry, I'll get back to my usual horror, sci-fi, and action in the coming weeks. But hey, you get my thoughts on whatever movie I go to see, whether I'm drugged there, carried there, I wake up there, whatever the case. You're gonna get my
He's
immediate thoughts on it.
a very horny typewriter takes him there. You never know.
Yes, you
Um,
never know. I lead an interesting life.
Speaking of an interesting life and horny typewriters, next month for our April live, we are dipping our toes back into honestly a never-ending well of just gems. It's time for our second uh, dance in the desert because we are doing Mad Max knockoffs Volume 2. We did it 2 years ago. We did Volume 1.
Yes.
Where we're going to review some Mad Max knockoffs plus a Mad Max film. So last time we did Mad Max. Hey, it's time for the one that all these movies are actually ripping off because we're going to be talking about The Road Warrior. We're talking about some great Italian Mad Max knockoffs. Of course, he's not here now. A fun Canadian Mad Max knockoff. And a movie that has been a movie club classic since much like of Unknown Origins, since Shaw brought it on our radar, and a movie I have not seen since, and I'm really excited to jump back into it. So make sure you're here. Yes, that's right. We're talking about the great Legion of Doom. Uh Nick's gonna spend the entire month going Wood Rush.
And we're gonna
um
dress up as Animal and Hawk this for the next episode. No, I'm kidding. We're not, but that would be awesome.
so you're not gonna do the reverse mohawk?
Hey, I- I'll consider it.
Now he's just gonna dress like Lord Humongous. But next month we are doing Mad Max knockoffs. You're not gonna want to miss that. New reviews Sundays and Wednesdays. So make sure if this is your first time here, click the like, click the subscribe, click the little bell, do all the YouTube things that YouTube asks of you. Help us grow to hit triple digits. That's what we're looking to do this year. And do you have anything else?
I want to plug our good friend Ben Fuenke, who had to duck out. He had to plug his channel, 3 Minute Horror Reviews on YouTube. He is growing like crazy, and he has some bang up short videos. And he watches the worst of the worst Drek. Go support him. And to you, Tommy, yes, I am absolutely gonna go see Project Hail Mary, and you will get a post-theater clarity of that in the future. I love Ryan Gosling, I love sci-fi movies, and I love adorable aliens. I am down to see Project Hail Mary. Thank you for joining us on this very interesting episode. Next month will be a blast, and I can't wait. Thank you, Logan, Tommy. Thank you, Aaron, Amber. Thank you all so much for being here and supporting us and hanging out with us. We love you guys so much, and we're glad you all will give part of your Saturday night to us to help support us.
And on that super sweet and genuine sappy note, we will see you guys next time.
Later,
Bye.
y'all.